Hey there, it's Ryan Ellis, aka Dad, aka Superman. Today we're going to make some strawberry shortcake. One of the first steps is to macerate our strawberries. So we're going to get to that as soon as I sharpen my knives a little bit. So also I will be making a biscuit, a shortcake biscuit. I will also be creating my own whipped cream as part of this dessert. The reason that we macerate the strawberries is so that they'll get a little juicier and will bring out some of their natural sweetness. We gotta make sure our knives are sharp so that we don't cut ourselves and so that the fruit ends up with a nice texture and so that we get rid of any parts that we don't want. So the easiest way to get started is just to do your dice and get rid of the tops. And get your strawberries just ready to go into the bowl. So we just do a little quick dice. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. We're not going for any kind of specific shape. We're just trying to get some of the surface area of the strawberries opened up so the sugar can do its job. So we just take the tops off. Maybe go in half. Cut our pieces into just big chunks. Large dice really is all we're really looking at going for. Alright, so our dice is all done. I'm going to get equal parts water and sugar so that I can make our sauce with these strawberries that have been diced. So, I've got those measured out. Again, equal parts sugar and water. Just to make a simple syrup, the water goes in with the sugar, and the diced strawberries go in. And I'm going to take these and get them put on the stove so they can begin cooking. Alright, so our sauce has been at a boil for just a couple of minutes, and we're just going to let it continue to boil so that the strawberry flavor comes out into the sugar and water, and so that this starts to reduce down into a nice syrup. We don't want to stir too much, but every so often we just want to make sure that we're not letting anything stick to the bottom, especially that raw sugar that was in there or the strawberries that are in there. But we don't want to stir anything up on the sides and let it crystallize either. So we're not putting a whole lot of action into it. It's just so that we can make sure nothing is stuck. And we'll probably go another 5 to 7 minutes to let this cook and reduce down. Alright, so now that our sauce is on the stove, we're going to get some of our big, fancy, nice looking strawberries, and we're just going to do a fancy slice on them and then get them in a separate maceration. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to top these really quickly, and we're actually going to take these to the board so that we can get nice clean cuts. All right, just gonna do a nice slice. Probably about 1/4 inch thick, maybe a little bit thicker. And we're gonna do probably 5 or 6 strawberries like that, get some sugar on them, and get those into the fridge so they can macerate. All right, so our sauce is done. It's ready to be strained, so I'm going to pour it through the strainer, and then we will actually mash up some of the strawberries and get a little bit more of that goodness out of them before we put it in our jar. Now, if this ends up a little bit thinner than you think it should be or how you would like it to be, you can always put it back on the stove, just the liquid part, and thin it down a little bit more. But we'll have to wait and see. So far this is looking really good. It definitely smells good. It smells sweet enough. Should be good to go in the bottle here in just a second. finally to the step where we create our shortcake. And what that means is we're going to combine our dry ingredients of flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. Then we're going to cube up our butter, get that put in with our dry ingredients and get that to a crumble. We're going to incorporate our wet ingredients then together and then into the dry ingredients. So here we go. That's our flour and our sugar, baking powder, and salt. Alright, slide that out of the way. And what we're going to do with our butter, we're going to take it and get it into nice little tiny cubes because I don't have a food processor here at the house. So I'm going to actually be doing my crumb portion of the shortcake with the old-fashioned prong fork. So this is the way that my grandmother used to do it when she taught me how to make this recipe. So I'm just going to get this butter cubed up, get it put in with the flour, and then I'll press it in with a fork and you can see that. Alright, so we've got our dry ingredients to the crumb state. We're going to take an egg that has been beaten. Make sure we get as much of that in there as we can. We're going to put our half and half in with our egg. We mix that together. And we're going to incorporate that in with our dry ingredients. This is a very loose dough. It doesn't get kneaded. It doesn't go on the table and get floured. It simply just gets mixed together. I want to do this as quickly as possible so that the butter doesn't melt. I want to keep it as cold as possible through this process. Alright, so we've got all of our wet and dry ingredients incorporated together for our shortcake. We're going to now get it onto the pan. Since I'm cooking at home and I don't have all of the tools necessary to do everything that I would the way I would do it in class, I created these little cups out of some aluminum foil and some wax paper. So that's what I'm going to try and bake my shortcake in. Alright, it's on the pan. Let's get it in the oven and I'll get this cleaned up. Alright, so our next step, we're going to make some whipped cream. Very easy. We're going to take some heavy cream. We're going to pour it into this chilled mason jar. Alright, we're using a whole package. It's a pint. We're going to take 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar because I like mine sweet, and a little bit of pure vanilla, not the imitation stuff. This is the real deal. I'm going to take that, and since I'm not at school, I'm going to use my trusty hand blender here at the house. Alright, we're ready to put our final dessert together. So we're going to take our shortcake, we're going to carve it up into a nice square shape. Once we've got it carved into the square, we're gonna cut it in half. You can see I've got a stencil on the plate. I'm gonna take the syrup that we made, and I'm going to just use a spoon. Spread our syrup over the stencil. Pull the stencil up, place our bottom portion of our dessert. So, take some of that fresh whipped cream that we've got, get it laid down. Get our nice sliced, slivered strawberries. Be very careful not to drip on the plate itself. Since I'm eating this, I'm not worried about gloves, and I don't have them at the house right now anyway, so be it. We're gonna put a little bit of whipped cream just on the top, so when we place the top portion of our cake, it sticks just a little bit. Again, a nice dollop on top. Before we place our strawberries on top, I'm just going to do a drizzle over the top with the syrup. Put a few more strawberries just on top. Finish the plate just as decoration. All right, so we're just gonna place our final strawberry. Nice big fresh one plated right on the side. And that's it, strawberry shortcake.